Today, I'm delighted to be speaking to the one, the only West Ham Clips is rejoining me right here back on West Ham Unofficial. If you haven't heard of West Ham Clips, firstly, where the hell have you been for the last 2 years? On Instagram, on Twitter, on all the platforms, he posts his alternative commentaries to West Ham games every single week, and they just get better and better. They are absolutely superb. I'd highly recommend, if you haven't already, going and checking some of them out before you watch this video. And I thought it would be good just to ask Clips just a few questions about the upcoming season, his thoughts, and how he's feeling ahead of this 23-24 season. So firstly, West Ham Clips, thank you very much indeed for joining me. How are you, mate?
Yes. Why hello everyone. Good morning, evening, or night, to anybody whose club are European champions. The West Ham Unofficial three-peat? Well, scenes. I am absolutely honoured. How are we doing, Jake?
I'm very good. Thank you very much, Clips. Thank you for joining me, mate. And yeah, so I thought the best way to start this is just to get his thoughts on, of course, the transfer window and potential signings. So, Clips, my first question to you is, if you were to make maybe 1, 2, or 3 signings, if you were Tim Steidten, if you were David Sullivan, David Moyes, whoever the hell's in charge, who would be on your shortlist and who would you want to sign up to West Ham this summer?
Oof. I'll tell you what, Jake. No. I won't answer that. I won't give you a player I think we should sign. Instead, I am going to give you 4.
4? That's insane.
I'll start with an obvious one. That will likely happen. Then, one that we've not been linked with, but think would be a good signing. And, I'll also give you 2 fun ones. 2 just completely random, and rogue, shouts, that nobody has probably ever heard of. The likely one, is the Southampton skipper James Ward-Prowse. Now, some people don't want him, which is fair enough, but me personally, I'm not one of those people. He ticks so many boxes. There's some insignificant boxes, like, yeah okay, he's a good player, good captain, helps fill a homegrown quota, etc. etc. However, he also ticks some significant boxes too. Firstly, he's one of the best set-piece takers in the world. Brilliant. As long as we keep signing the tallest players imaginable to complement him, then we're on to great things. Secondly, he gets a good amount of yellow cards, which is important, very important actually. And lastly, it's a double-barreled name, isn't it, Jake? We just simply need more players with double-barreled names. The second player I will put forward is someone you probably loved if you played Euro Fantasy in 2021, Joachim Mailer. There's been sporadic links in the past, but nothing concrete, and certainly nothing recent. He can play full-back, or wing-back, on either side, which is especially handy if we'll be switching between a back 4 and a back 3 this season. He also adds goals to a team, which, from a wing-back, is very unique. I also just love the R in his name. I imagine it'd cause headaches for many of people, which I'm absolutely here for. Now, for my first, completely rogue, out there, and exciting shout. It's a ginger left back from Argentina. If that doesn't get you hyped for a transfer, nothing will. It's Valentin Barco from Boca Juniors. He's just turned 19, and is already an established player in the Boca starting 11. We've needed a left back for a while, and with both Cresswell looking like he's leaving, and with the left back market not looking particularly appetizing, this would be an unbelievable transfer in my opinion. Boca, however, I don't think would sell mid-season, and the player himself might hold off until there's interest from one of Europe's elite clubs. He really is that good. If you haven't heard the name, go check him out. I'm sure soon enough he'll be one of, if not the, top left back around. Remember the name. My second rogue shout is Miles Leaburn from Charlton, son of Charlton legend Carl Leaburn. I'm investing my stocks very early here, but they could pay off. Now, I'm not saying we should replace our £35 million centre forward with a player from the 3rd division of English football, but I'm not saying we shouldn't do this either. It's hard not to watch him, and be reminded of the player we thought we were getting, when we signed Gianluca Scamacca. 6'5", 19 years old, can absolutely wallop all living hell out of a football, can bring players into play. He's just a really exciting talent, that I expect someone will take a chance on very soon. Hopefully, it's West Ham. Watch out for him this season in League One, I'm sure he's going to have an excellent campaign. So, those were my 4 thoughts, Jake. Anyone you'd like to add to that list? Apart from the obvious shout, of bringing back Big Craig Dawson?
Superb. Forget Tim Steidten. We have got our very own West Ham Clips to put together a fantastic list of players he'd like us to join to the club. And yes, I'm very thankful that we had a nod to the one, the only Craig Dawson, and that picture still remains here. I've still got it. Never forget him. I will never forget him. Yes, of course, without the obvious signing of Craig Dawson, of course that Kudus from Ajax seems like that's a close one. Jesse Lingard is not for me. I'm going to be totally honest with you, but if Paqueta might be leaving, I think that Kudus from Ajax could be a really good, astute signing. But I'm going to take your word for those other ones because they sound like really good prospects for the future and maybe a future at West Ham. So attentions will now turn to the Premier League, of course, clips. Whereabouts would you be happy with us finishing, and where do you think realistically West Ham will finish come the end of May in the Premier League?
To be honest, Jake, some people have concerns going into the season. For me personally, I don't at all. Of course, a lot will depend on signings, other clubs, etc. However, I don't think it necessarily will. I think whatever we do, will see us end up anywhere from mid-table to top half this season, for a few reasons. Firstly, I don't think anybody is breaking into the top 6 this season. Man City, United, Arsenal, and Liverpool will all be too strong, whilst Chelsea and Spurs will massively benefit from having no form of European football. Meanwhile, the sides that you think can challenge for a European spot in Newcastle, Brighton, Villa, and even us, are all in European competition ourselves. Even another side you could maybe see giving them a challenge is Brentford, who will be without their best player for the first half of the season. So, top 6 is completely written off for me, unless Spurs absolutely collapse, which is very possible. That only really leaves 7th up for grabs, which we will have a lot of competition for. So, for next season, I think about mid-table to top half is what is achievable, and also realistic, which I'd be happy with. Anywhere from 8th to 11th, I think. Hopefully, we'll be in a quite comfortable position quite early on, and we really go for another cup. FA Cup, Milk Cup, Europa Cup, I don't care. That's my main hope for next season, to be honest. Let's try and win another trophy. What about yourself, Jake? Think that's fair?
Yeah, I do. I think that's I think that's a realistic breakdown of what the Premier League is going to be like this year. I think it's going to be incredibly hard for any other teams to break through into that Big Six, because I think the regulation Big Six will be stronger than they were last year. I'd like to think it would be funny if they weren't, but Chelsea will probably be better than they were last year. As you mentioned, their Spurs, they could collapse, but it seems like already one game in, they seem to have a good system there and Postecoglou. And I think overall it will be more difficult. So as you said, that leaves 7th up for grabs. Will we get that? I can't see us. I can't see us being that high. But mid-table and another trophy, as you said, would be absolutely fantastic. I am in agreement with you, Clips. That is for sure. Now, of course, we are fighting on another front this year again, a 3rd year in a row in European football. We're back up to the Europa League this year, Clips. And how do you think we're going to get on in Europe this year?
Oof. Well, without using a massive cop-out, it just does depend hugely on whoever drops out of the Champions League. It's not beyond the depths of possibility that a European giant drop into it. I mean, even just look at last year. Barcelona, Seville, Ajax, and Juventus all dropped in, so it will never be an easy competition to win. And that's even before mentioning the fact Liverpool will be in it this year, as will Ajax, Roma, Atalanta, and, in quite devastating fashion for us, Brighton and Hove Albion. So, I don't know, Jake. It's very difficult to predict. Can we win it though? Yes, I actually believe we can. We're suited to European football. Our record in Europe over the last 2 seasons has been excellent, and we're now winners. We've been there and done it, in the big knockout games, which can't be underestimated how important that is. However, you asked me for a prediction, so I will give you one. West Ham United will win the 2023-24 UEFA Europa Conference League. Tomas Souček is going to deliver a devastating late dagger to Jose's Roma in Dublin. David Moyes is once again going to be on the pitch. Yet another season of European success for West Ham. Seems. Absolute. Seems. And, best of all, Russ Budden, DJ Russie B, will have to eat a jelly deal.
Okay, right, here we go. If we won the Europa League, well, I will eat a pot of jelly deals. Okay?
Now, this clip may be 2 years old, but do you see the great man give a time frame? No, he doesn't. Russ, mate, if you're watching, get ready. We're lifting another trophy, and you're going to have to try a jelly deal.
Well, a perfect sort of scene of utopia there. David Moyes running on the pitch, West Ham winning the Europa League, and well, DJ Russie B, you've just had a direct challenge, and it's there, and West Ham Clips has found that. Whether he had that save ready to go, I am not too sure. However, It's down to you. If we win the Europa League, if we're all booking flights to Dublin, you'll be getting a bit nervous, Russ, won't you? You'll be getting a bit nervous. But no, all jokes aside, if we were to win it would be absolutely exceptional. And you raise a valid point, who will drop down for the Champions League. That'll play a huge part of it, because you get some real big boys come down that completely change the complexion of the competition, where you think you could have a route through, and then a big boy drops, straight back down into the Europa League to cause big problems. So yeah, it will massively depend on that, and we've got to hope somebody beats Brighton, because we ain't going to. So there's all of that to play into consideration as well. But moving on, of course, there's been a discussion over the last year, Clips, about whether West Ham are still massive. You were the person, I think, that started West Ham are massive everywhere we go. So I'd like you to answer the question simply: are West Ham still massive, as you said a couple of years ago? Do you think this football club is still massive?
Ha 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 ha. Well, Jake, as we all know, this is a very serious question. Now, to answer this question with the utmost seriousness, we need to define massive. I tried Googling this, but Google is obviously wrong here, so I asked the most reputable and accurate source of information, ChatGPT, to which I was astounded by its response. You see, Jake, the definition of massive is West Ham United. This means we are synonymous with the word. This investigation and rabbit hole you've sent me down, Jake, has made me realize that West Ham are not massive, but that massive is West Ham. So, to put it simply, and to answer your question, Jake, will West Ham United still be massive at the end of the season? Yes, and it is quite literally impossible for it to ever be any different. But don't take it from me, take it from ChatGPT.
So there we go. West Ham Clips, the originator of the massive chant, has confirmed to us on a West Ham unofficial exclusive, according to his very good and very top sources, that West Ham are still massive. And it also said to subscribe to West Ham unofficial there as well. So do that if you haven't already. But overall, my last question to you, Clips, is about the elephant in the room. It's about David Moyes. What are your thoughts on the managerial position currently? As we're at the start of this season, there's been much talk about it over the summer and over the last 12 months, really, about his position as West Ham manager. So in your opinion, do you think Moyes will last? And do you think Moyes has enough credit to still remain in his role as West Ham manager?
If I'm honest, Jake, I'm more than okay with David Moyes. I know some aren't, but personally, I would have kept him on this year, and I do think he deserves it. The league campaign last year obviously wasn't good enough, but overall, I think far more factors went into that than just whether Moyes did or didn't do a good job, or if he's a good manager or not. Overall, 3 full seasons as West Ham manager, delivering 3 consecutive years of European football, and winning a trophy, is nothing short of unbelievable, so he definitely deserves to stay on for me. The only thing I don't necessarily agree with, though, is having your manager on a 1-year deal. Whether we had Moyes, Guardiola, Klopp, whoever, it's not a good idea. What incentive does he, or anyone in his position, have to play Mubama? What incentive does he have to sign a player that might be good in the following season, when, as it stands, he won't be here to reap the rewards? That's why I think he'll possibly even stay at the club beyond this season, because it would be in the club's best interest to offer him a new deal if we start the season well. Which, again, I'm okay with. I do actually think David Moyes is probably as good as it will get under the current ownership, and that's not even necessarily a dig at them. Finishing in the top 6, providing someone doesn't massively underperform, is hugely unrealistic. They have more money, better players, better resources, better everything. Irrespective of who our manager is, we just simply can't compete with them, nor should we expect to. So, if we want to qualify for European football, 7th is realistically our ceiling, which, for one, doesn't even guarantee European football anyway, depending on who wins the League Cup, and secondly, Newcastle quite literally are about 1 billion times richer than Manchester City, so, again, that's another club that on paper, will be incredibly difficult to compete with. You're then looking at it and thinking, well, more or less, our ceiling, which we can realistically expect from any manager under our current setup, is 8th, which, prize money aside, is not really any different to finishing 17th. So, what is the best case scenario? Well, it's competing in the cups, and finishing as high in the table as possible. Based off Moyes' time here, and at Everton, I think he's probably the best manager we can realistically expect to achieve both of those things, or, at least until we have new owners anyway. Now, I know some don't, and would prefer to see a different style of football, which is absolutely fair, but better football doesn't always necessarily mean better results, and we're hardly set up in a way like Brighton, where everything is in place from top to bottom, for the manager to be successful. If anything, we're the opposite. So, for whatever faults that may come with having David Moyes, I would feel much more nervous about what the future would hold without him in charge, than with him. If you could guarantee me another manager comes in, plays unbelievable football, and we start competing for the top 4, then that's fantastic and you obviously take that, but I think that's infinitely closer to a pipe dream at the moment than it is a reality. I think we could do far worse than David Moyes personally, Jake.
I think there's loads of different factors that go into it because you've mentioned all of them there. Whether it's the ownership, whether it's the competition that we've got around us that is vastly growing. It seems like by the minute at the moment. And I think with David Moyes there, you Clip seem to have a lot more patience than most West Ham fans in terms of the managerial position there. In my opinion, I think I'd give him the first 6 games. I've got the fixture list there. I think we play Sheffield United at the end of September. That could be the crunch game because before that, even just in September, we've got Man City and Liverpool, that are before that game against Sheffield United. So that, if we're struggling at that position, I do think they will reconsider the role, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's still in the role at the end of the season. So I think it's definitely one that it's difficult to predict, and we don't know how we're going to go and how the ownership are going to react to good or bad form in that sense. And of course, it depends on who we bring in the remaining couple of weeks left of this transfer window as well. Interesting thoughts, Clips. Thank you very much, Clips, for joining me. It's been a pleasure to have you once again and have your services on the channel. Just before we do say goodbye to Clips, there's a link down in the description down below to his website where you can go and donate. You can find out more about what he does, and there's also some DVDs. What he does is he puts all of his alternative commentaries together from all of the games of that season, lobs them in a DVD, and they're available to buy. And yeah, they're a great gift or a great thing to have to look back on every now and then, because you find yourself in tears at some point watching them. They are that funny. But yeah, just to finish off, Clips, thank you very much indeed for joining me, mate.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Jake. Thanks for having me on once again. Now there's just one thing left to do. It's to stop whatever you are doing this very second and subscribe to West Ham Unofficial. Get your mum to subscribe to West Ham Unofficial. Get your dad to subscribe to West Ham Unofficial. Your nan, your uncle, your dog, your cat. Okay, maybe not the cat, but everyone you know should be subscribed to West Ham Unofficial. If they aren't, then you have failed, absolutely miserably, and you will have 86,000 years of bad luck. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, and whilst you're there, you may as well turn those notifications on too. Come on, grow up. Thanks again, Jake. Come on, you irons.
Clips, you're an absolute legend, and well, all I've got to say is just listen to Clips. Just listen to Clips. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, drop a like on it and subscribe to West Ham Official. If you're new, hit that notification bell to be notified whenever we do come on with a new video. Check out Clips, links in the description down below. He is an absolute legend, and until next time, come on, you irons, and we'll see you soon right here on West Ham Official. Thank you very much, and goodbye.